The concept of masculinity has been brought to heavy debate in recent years, caught in the crossfire of the never-ending gender war. Extremities from both sides have attempted to define it, and in doing so, facing damages. That's where Yakuza 0 and its characters comes in and had, in my opinion, effectively challenged and redefined masculinity. But before we dive in, I want to ask all the young guys out there, what does masculinity mean to you? One thing of certain is that the dominant understanding of masculinity is the outcome of cultural hegemony. When dominant groups of society maintains power by shaping, normalizing, and rewarding certain ways of thinking, while punishing others. These ways of thinking, called cultural logic, are informed by societal and historical biases derived from power dynamics. The people of society internalize these ideals and stop questioning them. It becomes their identity. Enter hegemonic masculinity. The dominant ideals that upholds male dominance in society, reinforces traditional gender roles and rejects feminine traits. It emphasizes power, dominance, heterosexuality, authority, and emotional suppression. While the ideal on its own is not inherently harmful and can indeed lead to virtuous behaviors, its socially destructive traits are overly endorsed and adhered to. They become toxic. Hegemonic masculinity is evident in every popular media. Yakuza 0 is no exception. Ridiculously over-the-top machismo oozes from two men seamlessly rip off their clothes, intensely stare each other down, then duke it out. It's almost ironic. Then there's the narrative about a criminal organization set in Japan's economic boom, the prime time for those with toxic traits to thrive. Everything revolves around crime, violence, power domination, and money. It's easy to write off Yakuza as another archetypal, one-dimensional, hyper-masculine piece of media. But then two protagonists step forward. Kazuma Kiryu, a tall and violent muscle man who just roughed off someone for their cash. Goro Majima, a smooth and charming cabaret playboy who manages a group of women. At first, both seem to fit the mold of toxic masculinity, but it is their action in the face of adversity that reveals that they are anything but. In the main story, Kiryu was falsely accused of murder, yet he selflessly takes the burden on himself to confront Kuze and protect Kazuma, risking death out of sheer stubbornness. Majima is given a hit job to get back into Yakuza, yet when the time comes, he just couldn't do it, costing him his future. He even finds himself risking his life protecting the target. Kiryu weeps and cries at Tachibana's death, while Majima follows his heart and goes through hell and back for Makoto. Not to mention the plethora of substories where they offer help to anyone vulnerable, man or woman, no matter who they are and where they're from. These men aren't driven by wealth or status, but by their spiritual values and sense of what's right. They're in touch with their emotions, allow vulnerability while still able to stand up for themselves and others around them. They could crush anyone to get what they want, yet they're brave enough to choose love and kindness, even if it costs them everything. Throughout the story, both men are offered countless venomous temptation from the criminal underworld that seeks to corrupt them. Kiryu rejects the venom entirely, while Majima has a taste and spit it out. The system views opposition as threat and punishes them by targeting their life and what they care about. Despite this, they prevail, but not without the help and sacrifice of their loved ones. The majority, though, aren't so fortunate. We see countless examples of men consumed by society's easy choices. They chose the path of violence, destruction, and betrayal, fueled by ambition and emotional repression, convinced that it's the only way to prove their worth. Nishiki was kind and loving. He wanted to kill Kiryu out of mercy but couldn't. Then he succumbed to the pain and trauma society put him through, became cold, unfeeling, ruthless. It's ironic. He was there to stop Kiryu from stepping into the darkness, but Kiryu couldn't be there for him. The villains of Yakuza embody different toxic aspects of hegemonic masculinity. Their harmful effects are uncomfortably demonstrated, as well as how they react when clashed against the protagonist's form of masculinity. Take the three Dojima lieutenants. Shibusawa is cold and calculating. Awano is gluttonous and egotistical. Kuze is prideful and violent. When faced off against Kiryu and Majima, their reactions ranges from rejection to reckoning to respect. All are driven by the same underlying emotion that they try so hard to repress. Envy. They're envious of the protagonist's resolve to resist the vices that have consumed them. This leads to violent clashes in ideology, sometimes a bit too much. These battles dig deep, surfacing the virtue and brutality within both men. They emerge as better people or embrace the darkness. Sadly, in the end, both Kiryu and Majima choose to return to the world that has brought them so much pain and suffering, because the Yakuza has become their identity. It is all they know. Kiryu prevails, carries grief with him, and forges his own path of light within the darkness. Majima is broken. He accepts his role as prisoner and claims agency by living in his own terms, but masks his vulnerability behind the Mazda's persona, seeing firsthand how his world punishes it and everything important to it. Now that the story is covered, let's touch on the side content. Of course, there's the classic beatdowns and cats flying everywhere. But then comes the absurd minigames and substories that encourage players to displace traditional gender norms. You see Kiryu racing toy cars, Majima doing makeup and solving women's problems, then both sing and dance their hearts out. Through both story and gameplay, Yakuza insists upon its players' healthy masculine traits, while bringing the socially destructive nature of toxic masculinity to the spotlight as something that needs to be actively challenged. It sets its own role models of masculinity. Kiryu's virtue is idealized while Majima is more realistic. They're both worthy of aspiration from players like myself and others. For my game studies professor Stephen Conway and Yakuza 0, I conclude the core concept of masculinity. To obey Aristotle's virtue of temperance, practice in moderation between two extremes of overindulgence or total denial. Finding balance within yin and yang, to embrace vulnerability and find strength and kindness in a hegemonic world. Not white, not black, but gray.